How am I free if I know my indigenous people are not free in Australia? How am I free if I know kids are still working on the cobalt mines in the Congo, making Teslas? How am I free if I know my people aren't free in Africa?
Alright, I'm going to kick this off with a story. So the other day, a stranger stopped me and talked to me about his religious beliefs and how he's very cautious about who he tells this because people are very hostile over, religion. And I think he feels this way because he believes in some Israeli stuff, and Israel has been invaded and attacked a multitude of times since it was founded at near the end of the 1940s. And I was going to make a porn joke about Alexis, Texas, but that would have been a little too far. But anyways, back to the point, I told him that most of the time, it's not the message that makes people hostile or offended, it's the delivery of said message. And I used Kyrie Irving as an example, and I told him that Kyrie actually didn't do anything wrong. What he said and did wasn't that bad, but the way he handled it was terrible. When you're talking about something people are super passionate or sensitive about, you need to be very careful and aware of how you word said things, and because they're very, you already know. And to sum up the point of what I told him, people are comfortable with the way that they live or think, and naturally we prefer the devil we know, per se. So when you come up to people trying to change their mind on something, especially when they're happy with the way they're happy with their opinions on said thing, you can't come up and attack their opinions or imply that their way of life or way of thinking is stupid, because naturally it's gonna piss them off. And some people are very passionate about this stuff, so they are probably gonna say some shit back to you. And what baffles me is how naive creators, and Kyrie, is to this. I'm sure I'm gonna reiterate this point later, so let's go ahead and get on with the video. Kyrie, at least from the VOD that I'm seeing, starts his just chatting by saying he doesn't like the new gambling audience. And while I think he gave a bad example for why why he dislikes them, it's his opinion and it's not harmful at all. But next, he talks about the entertainment business and media. We really transitioned into this really quickly. But anyways, he starts this off with the all too cliche, I don't like the media and I don't associate with the media. And funny enough, most people who say this are very in tune with what the media is saying. And by commenting on the media and other forms of social commentary, you yourself are in the entertainment business or a part of the media. Now, I'm aware that the things the media say probably reach Kyrie via third party, like messages, friends, shares, or other forms of recommendation, and that in itself isn't a problem. An athlete of Kyrie's caliber and notoriety probably has had numerous horrible experiences with the media, whether that be commentators or comments. So he has every right to dislike the media as a whole. That is completely justified. I have no problems with it. But I do have an issue with the bashing of the profession as a whole, because people like to talk about things, that they find entertaining. People like to talk about things that they like. Kyrie Irving is not only someone they find entertaining on the basketball court, but one way or another, they grew to like him as a celebrity, or him in the sense that he's a part of their favorite form of entertainment, the NBA. So bashing people for doing something natural is silly. People like to talk and you're bashing them for talking. Talking is natural. Now, this was off the top of his head, so I'm definitely taking this wrong, but I think the more appropriate way of going about this so no one catches a stray bullet would be to inform people working at ESPN or podcasting or whatever to keep it basketball. Don't insult me as a person. Don't start rumors about me. Just commentate on my basketball. If I'm playing bad, say I'm playing bad. When I'm playing good, say it. When I'm hurt, demanding a trade, sitting out, so on and so forth, that's fair game. But taking it beyond the sport to DM me hateful messages per se, or speculate on my personal life, is too far. Bam, easy, no one catches a stray, you get your point across, no one's being attacked. But let's move on. I was going to skip this next point, but I wrote the title Kyrie is naive before watching this, and he's starting to reinforce that here. He talks about being heckled or called trash or being trash talked by fans. All right. And while I'm sure this sucks and is very annoying, I hate when my coworkers talk shit about me, even when they are joking. So I can't imagine being in a stadium where 60 to 70% of the people there are gonna shit talk you every time you're within earshot. But he gives a really bad example of this by telling a story how he was in New Orleans and a fan yelled out, "Kyrie, you have 0 points, you suck." And his response to this was, "Why do you care?" And this was an extremely naive answer. Some of you might think it's stupid, but Kyrie isn't stupid. He's naive, ignorant, or just unaware. So given he didn't debunk this, we can assume that it is true that he did not have he didn't have any points. He didn't score at all, right? And he also said the dude was a fan of the other team. So to answer his question, that fan cares about you having 0 points because he likes the game of basketball. He enjoys it so much. Instead of watching it at home on his own TV, laptop, or phone, he physically came to the game and probably paid pretty good money to get within earshot of you. And also, you're on the other team. I'm assuming he's very passionate about this game, because he paid money to get close enough to shit talk you. So naturally, he wants his team to succeed. You having 0 points aids in his enjoyment of watching his team win, and he decided to let you know about it. So he trash talked you. And I find this funny because professional players trash talk each other. I think Zion plays for the imagine critiquing a guy and you can't even speak fucking English. Holy fuck. The Kyrie stands are about to eviscerate me, and I'm gonna leave it all in. Anyways, I think Zion plays for New Orleans. If Zion said this to you, would it be justified because he's playing in the NBA? I'm pretty sure he would have disliked that just as much, so I'll move on. Then he lists a few things and it says, like, what does it mean? For example, he says the guy told him he sucks. What does that mean? Kyrie, you blew up these teams. What does that mean? Kyrie, you left us. What does that mean? And just because you don't know or can't understand what something means to someone, that doesn't make it meaningless. They say these things to you because they like the sport of basketball. While saying you blew up a team is a little too far, when it comes to you left us, the meaning is if you were the best player on their favorite team or their favorite player on said team, you hold sentimental value to them in one way or another. So when you demand to be traded or get traded, these people will feel abandoned. They will feel that way, and some of them will be so passionate or emotional about it, they will message you or make a video about it. And it sounds very naive because the way he explained this makes it seem like this concept of a player holding sentimental or emotional value, whether it's good or bad, is completely foreign to him. Anyways, next he goes on a mini praise God tangent. Nothing wrong with that. We all love us a little Jesus, you know what I'm saying? Then he gives a phenomenal take, and to summarize what he said, start quote, "There are bitter old people in the places we get news from," end quote. That is a very good quote. Start quote again. "And people think I'm a certain way because said bitter old people commentate and put a narrative out on me before I can even get a chance to talk about what I did or what I said." In paraphrased quote. Would you use air quotes if you're paraphrasing? I don't know. I'm terrible at grammar. Anyways, that's a great point. Spectacular. Flawless victory. And this is a great time to point out that a lot of these controversial figures will tell you some facts and sprinkle their opinions in there, then box the entire thing up as the truth. He follows up this great think piece by saying, "I just talk about the devotion I have to my family. I'm leaving this in so I can get roasted. I talk about the devotion I have to my family, presumably God, his ancestors, and the air quotes revolution that my people have put forth before me," end quote. And I say Kyrie. I keep combining words that I'm trying to say for no reason. And I say Kyrie is naive because I think he lacks the concept of, a lot of times it's not the message, it's the delivery of said message. He follows this up with a know yourself, be yourself tangent. Then he says, "I know I'm doing something right when there's so much negativity around a caricature of myself." And I don't know if that's naive, stubborn, or downright ignorant. Because if you have a message so good, I mean, from the example he gave, anyone can get behind and support a guy who's about his family, religion, and ancestors. So when you're doing something as universally as accepted as that, and when people don't like it and thinking, what the fuck are you doing? You're clearly either being misunderstood or you're going about presenting your message the wrong way. But instead of taking accountability or being self-reflective, he boldly claims they don't like it, so I must be right. And that's a terrible mindset to be fixed on. Later on, he gives us the "you don't know me, therefore you can't talk about me. Your opinions and takes on my behavior and actions are invalid because you don't know me." And for fuck's sake, I'm getting a headache just writing this out. So I'm not even going to attempt to explain why I think that's silly and why I strongly disagree. But he sprinkled a fact in this tangent saying he thinks that it's bad that people are being forced to get interviewed and talk about other people's actions as a part of their job. And I wholesomely agree with that. Being forced to do that is bad, but those who don't mind or voluntarily do it should be allowed. And for his "you don't know me, your opinions are invalid" mindset, that's a moral dilemma. So at best, all we can do is agree to disagree. He then goes on a tangent, and I really try to hear him out here, but what he says wasn't resonating with me at all. Apparently English isn't resonating with me either. But what stood out to me was it seemed like he doesn't understand there's a difference between people who disagree with you, are critiquing you, or are hating you, or sometimes it's a combination of all three. Now, a guy of his status gets a lot of hate, but for you to claim you're mature and have emotional intelligence, and as an indigenous African male, you don't like being put in a box and labeled, to turn around and label everyone who commentates on you that as haters, and they commentate on you negatively, is, for the lack of a better word, stupid. He then asked, as a famous celebrity, what are the unspoken rules that we have to follow? And the first thing that popped into my head was speaker responsibility. When you're of that status, everything you say is simultaneously being listened to very carefully and being just overheard. So you, as a popular public speaker, needs to understand that what you say can cause a lot of damage. If you're talking to an audience of 100,000 people and you say something silly like Skip Bayless is a misanthrope and that's why he dislikes Luka so much, even if 90% of that audience understands that that's just your opinion and a theory on the matter, 10% is agreeably a overwhelming minority. But if that 10% takes the narrative that Skip Bayless is a misanthrope and runs with it, whether it's fair or not, you just created a community of 10,000 people spreading a fallacy, and you're responsible for the damage that they cause. And it goes both ways. If Skip Bayless says something about you to an audience of 100,000 people, the same things applies to him, good or bad, and there's a great argument that actually you would be held more accountable than him, but we're not getting into that this video. But anyways, his audience gaslit him by saying when you're famous you can't go back to the hood, which is somewhat true but not entirely. When you're famous, when you're a famous celebrity, you're gonna want to turn the volume up on this one, you cannot tell the truth. And no, I'm not gonna go on a just because it's true to you personally, that doesn't make it a universal fact rant. I'm not gonna do it. Not this video. But he goes on a rant about they want us to be a robot, a puppet. And after puppet, I pressed pause and said, nah, I'm good. I was trying to make it to the point where he talks about modern slave labor with kids in Cabo making Teslas, because I wanted to say the message is great. Introduce us to the sleazy things companies do, but don't try to insinuate that we are stupid or being lied to because we don't know. For instance, there is currently a genocide going on in China. If you don't know that, you aren't stupid. The US government isn't lying or hiding this from you. It's just irrelevant information to your daily life, and there's nothing stopping you from looking this up at all. I learned about the Uyghur genocide via Nebula, as the contents of that atrocity are too violent for YouTube. The government didn't ban the damn video, they didn't censor it or make it a pro-West propaganda video. It was just information. When I Googled it, I got thousands of articles detailing the situation, or at least what we know about the situation. And I'm very confident if you did the same thing about these labor loopholes, you can find it. Now, the companies themselves might try to cover up something and hide it from you, but it can't be completely covered up. Just because you have to go looking for some information doesn't make you stupid for not looking for it, and neither does it mean that it's being hidden from you either. Of course, there are examples of stuff being hidden from you, but if you can go on Google and get thousands of articles on a subject, it's not being hidden. If I can watch an uncensored explanation of Unit 731, the air quotes biggest cover up in U.S. history, end quote, on YouTube of all places, it's not being hidden. Nonetheless, while I disagree with a lot of things he said, his views and opinions are in itself harmless, and he's not a bad guy at all. I think he's a little naive, but he has some valuable insight to offer. If you're into, energy and spirituality talk, it's not for me, so I'm good on that. But damn, this was a lot longer than I thought, and I really struggled to get through that. But yeah, I don't think anything he said was really that bad. I think, well, I don't think he would do this, nor really hear this video, but I think he needs to get with some people and work on his delivery of said messages, so that way they're being put out and presented in a better way, because I think the way he talks about it is just a little, not disingenuous, it's just off. It makes it hard to accept. When you're trying to make these points, right? These points, I want to call them controversial. When you try to make these points, but you're making these points in an I'm a victim type of standpoint, a lot of people just aren't going to resonate with that, right? Especially if you do it passive aggressively, right? If you wanted to do a message saying that there are kids, air quote, kids in Cabo making Teslas, saying like, I don't know, how am I free if there's kids in Cabo making Teslas? I don't know, guys. I'm just saying, like, why you gotta be such a victim about it, bro? Just say, hey, I really don't like this going on in that other country. People will get behind it. Nobody likes child or slave labor. Like, that's why we outlawed it like a long fucking time ago, right? That's why there's an age limit on who you can hire in the United States, right? Of course, there's some people who do loopholes with that, but you know what I mean, right? Anyone can get behind that. But when you surround that message with this I'm a victim, and blah 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 around it, we don't really care about the message anymore. We're trying to figure out what the fuck you're going on about. Like, what does this have to do with you, and why are you insinuating that you know what I mean? It just puts people off. It just puts people off. And when you say it like that, more people are focused on the fact that you're a millionaire basketball player complaining about something that's going on in a country, in a whole nother country at that point. Like, when he said that, I'm using that as an example because it's the first thing that popped up off the top of my head. But, when you said that, the point of his message is to point a finger at the sleazy shit going on in whatever country he said it was going on in, right? But when you word it with, I'm not free because this thing's happening in a whole different country, the first thing that's going to resonate with people is, how the fuck are you not free? You're a millionaire. You play basketball. Like, it makes no sense. It really doesn't. You're on Twitch talking to a bunch of people, and you know what I mean? Like, how are you not free? You're literally using your freedom of speech to talk about your opinions. Oh, and by the way, you got a couple million in the bank. I will never touch $1 million in my life. How the fuck are you not free of all people, right? That's exactly what people think with that. What the fuck are you complaining about, dude? Like a agent with his boredom theory. Like you got nothing else to complain about. You have nothing else to complain about except for something going on in an entire different country that we have not heard of. What is going on here, right? And yeah, you know what I mean? And then especially coming from I could go on this tangent for hours, but look, that's gonna do it for this one. There's definitely some stuff that I missed out on. If you somehow made it through this clusterfuck of words, then I really appreciate it. You've done more than enough to keep the series going. Let me know how you feel about Kyrie. I don't think anything he does, or at least said or done so far, is really good or bad. It's just his opinions. It's just his outlook at life. I just think it's a little naive and silly, but hey, that's me. I am a reject. I literally have no friends in real life. So maybe I'm the one who's naive and stupid in this situation, and he's actually spitting the real shit. But that's going to do it for this one. And until we meet in the next video or the comments, remember, if you know man, because we know we up next, sponsored by Atari. And
the joint will be hopping. The octopus said the same thing to Yoshi. It's about being patient, picking your moment. So snap out of it. You can't let a couple of losses blow you off course. You don't have to win now, just someday. Slow and steady wins the race, right? Well, it kills the octopus.